Writing a novel is a long process. Writing a trilogy is even longer. Recently, I finished the first draft of my second book. While I wrote that draft, I had all these other ideas bubbling. I'm no stranger to the shiny object syndrome. If you've been following this channel, you know I like to try different things. While I'm aware that focus is important, momentum is also important. I must keep writing, keep editing, keep publishing, and keep putting my work out into the world for approval or rejection. If I only work on my novel, the journey from beginning to end will take years. In order to get a sense of completion, I take breaks to write short stories. If this is your first time here, my name is Elliot and I make videos about writing and the creative process. If that interests you, please subscribe. Now back to the topic. I get new ideas all the time. I record them and then I put them aside. While working on my novel, I can feel these ideas stirring in the back of my brain. I consider these ideas as treats, and I save them for after dinner. Working on these ideas are rewards, and I can only start them when I finish my novel's draft. It's hard going from a drafting phase into an editing phase. It's such a shift in mindset. Reading a draft is a painful experience because there is often a lot to fix. But by writing on the side, I can still indulge in the pleasure of creating without being completely bogged down and overwhelmed by the editing phase. While writing a novel, I spend a long time living in a specific world with specific characters. That tone stays with me like an aftertaste when I start working on something else. Writing a short story or a bunch of short stories after finishing a draft of a novel is like cleansing the palate. You clear out all the derivative ideas that you have lingering by bringing them to life in some form. Writing a short story is also about experimenting. You could try something new that you might not be able to do in that novel that you have carefully outlined and structured. A short story is a practice where you can work out something you want to improve on without compromising a larger piece of work. For example, if I want to write an emotional dialogue scene, I can do that in a short story. Or if I want to tell a tale that jumps between characters and time, I could do that in a short story. There is no better feeling than finishing something. But when you are working on a big project, the satisfaction of crossing something off the list doesn't come often. By working on a short story, you put yourself in a position where you can complete something in a shorter time frame and pat yourself on the back. I allow myself to feel the reward of finishing a task regularly, especially when I'm also working on something long. A short story is also a great way to get feedback. When working on a novel, in order for someone to get the full experience, they have to read the whole thing. But in a short story, someone can digest it in a few minutes to an hour. It's a much shorter commitment and therefore a much easier way to gauge whether your writing is effective or not. Before I completely wrap up my novel-sized project, I have a plan for my return when transitioning to the new, smaller project. I don't want to just write the first draft of my novel, put it aside, and then work on short stories forever. I need to come back and finish. It's all a waste if I don't. The short stories should only act as a break, not a permanent change. The way I do this is by setting a limit to the number of short stories I can write before I must go back and commence editing my novel. Last year, I embarked on a month-long challenge where I tried to write and submit one short story every week for 4 weeks. If you're interested, check out this video right here. During those 4 weeks, I used word association with the 4 elements, earth, water, air, and fire, as my inspiration. This approach was something that the author of Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury, did. I found this experience to be refreshing and productive. It forced me to pick up my pace and complete a piece while staying within a theme. This time, I thought I'd do 7 short stories during my break. And what better inspiration than with the 7 sins? I don't want to put pressure on myself to submit my work this time, but I do want to write. So the goal of this little break between drafting and editing my novel is that I'm going to write the first draft of 7 short stories. Once I write these 7 short stories, I will return to my novel and start editing that. The plan is not to strike it big with one project. That's unlikely to happen. The plan is to be prolific and maintain momentum. The plan is to have a project to look forward to. The plan is to sustain enthusiasm without burning out. I find that this method has been really helpful with my writing process, and I recommend giving it a try yourself. If you want to follow along on my novel and short story writing journey, please hit subscribe so you don't miss any videos. Once completed, I hope to share many of those stories, so stay tuned for those as well. For now, check out these videos right here.